rooms vacant? Were there any vacancies in this building?
Yes, there were vacancies in the building,
Did that
meaning
add to the fire, or
no, it didn't in this case because the building's essentially empty except for the building itself.
and would smoke detectors have helped anybody in here? Would,
So
how much do they help you?
smoke detectors in general, we say they're an early warning system. They detect smoke and alert occupants, especially while they're asleep or while they're awake, so they have time to get out of the house. Smoke detectors are a key factor in saving lives during a fire.
But Chief, maybe at least I have the impression that this was not like a legal tenant of the building.
So I don't know that any of us know all the circumstances at this point, but yeah, we believe somebody was squatting in the building.
Okay, and had you all gotten complaints about this before, or are you aware of them? I guess
I would say I'm not aware of complaints. I've talked to some citizens that it said they have made some complaints today, but I don't know that the fire department's received any complaints. So we're looking into that.
Any ideas how the fire started?
Not at this point, no.
I'm not sure if you can answer this question or if the building director could. When it comes to vacant buildings within this particular neighborhood, are you familiar or do you have a number of how many vacant buildings? I don't know if that question was used.
So we can do two things there. I'd like the director to talk about vacant buildings first, and the fire marshal will also talk about our program for vacant buildings in the city or in the fire department. It's actually something that's sort of timely in the news with the things that have gone on in Baltimore, and we do have a pretty aggressive program there. So, director,
Just one more before you get to that. When we talk about police, are they confirming the death, or are you guys leaving that to
the police would do that.
And you wanted to know about vacant buildings?
Yes, sir. Can you guys? I just wanted to ask you, do you have a number or figure of how many vacant buildings within this neighborhood, or maybe even in the city?
Yes. When you go to dob.dc.gov, we maintain a public dashboard that provides transparency into all the buildings that have gone through the classification process as vacant building. The way the process works is driven by complaints. So residents can call 311 or initiate a complaint from our website. We respond through an inspection, and when the inspection confirms that the property is vacant, we notify the property owner. The property owner has 30 days to respond, and if they are not able to give us sufficient information that the property is occupied, then we officially classify it as vacant and transmit the information over to the Office of Tax Revenue so that it can be assessed a higher property tax to incentivize the return of vacant properties into productive use.
Some of those complaints that you have you received any about these two particular buildings?
In looking at our records, there's been inspection activity in this neighborhood. More specifically, 838 is being flagged as vacant. The notice expires on November 30th, which means if the owner fails, by December 30th, if the owner fails to give us relevant information indicating that it's actually occupied, then the classification becomes effective.
What's the status of this building?
As we look at it now, it's been damaged by fire. There's been inspection activity here back in May, if I recall, and also October. There was an individual identified in the building, so it didn't meet the threshold initially for it to be classified as vacant.
So you mean there was what you would consider a legal tenant in the building, or person occupying the building legally?
We don't make the determination of who is legal and who is illegal when it as it relates to like no tenants.
Okay, so the fact that anybody was in there it classifies the building as occupied?
Not exactly. For a property to be classified as vacant, it has to meet a certain threshold. From the inspection records, and from what I understand so far, the property appeared secured. If you look at the building behind me now, you can see that there's signs of forcible entry. So a lot has transpired from October till now.
I understand from some of the residents that live here that they've complained about this building a lot. That's what I've heard. We've had somebody on camera this morning saying that they complained about the building, that they frequently called the police because people were in here. Does that affect the legal status of the building as far as your department is concerned?
For us, any resident complaint or engagement with us is a concern. We want to make sure that we do everything we can to enhance the quality of life, protect the safety of our residents. As it relates to complaints, yes, we responded to 2 complaints about the building, and that is what led to the classification of the 838, and also this is also going 842 is also going through that process.
How do you ensure that they're secure so that no one is able to get inside?
There are a few things. When you go to a building, you look if you can just open it and get in. You look at the windows. Those are just some of the basic things that we look at. But there's nobody who can guarantee that there wouldn't be somebody trying to get into a building unlawfully at any given point in time. I mean, people break into buildings. That's what happens. So we always want to work with the community so that when they see things and they inform us, we take the appropriate action as we are authorized within the law and within our scope of authority.
If you looked at the ownership, the same person own both buildings?
I cannot confirm if the same person owns both buildings. That is something that we can look into and respond.
With the fire marshal on our vision policy.
You guys got anything to add, though?
Sure. So I'm Mitchell Cannery. I'm the fire marshal, so I can talk a little bit about the partnership we have, Department of Buildings, about vacant buildings, and then how we address vacant buildings in the department. So as an agency, we partner very closely with our vacant building coordinator. Every quarter and then every month, we get a list of buildings that are considered blighted from Department of Buildings. Our operations personnel will then go verify the status of that. They'll also confirm that the buildings are properly marked. So you'll see the buildings behind us have fire department placards that indicate that they are vacant buildings. So that indicates to our personnel that the property has been confirmed to be vacant and may or may not have some structural issues for them to consider when they respond to emergency here. So that's an ongoing partnership, and when we find buildings in the field that we do consider or that are potentially vacant, we will partner with Department of Buildings. We'll forward that information for them so they can also do an inspection and get that on their vacant building list. Our fire inspectors are also involved, and they'll go out and confirm that status as well. When our personnel are responding, if there is a designated vacant building and they see placards indicating the same, they'll take proper precautions to make sure that they assess the structural stability of that building, as well as any traps or anything else that might prevent them from getting into the building safely, just to make sure that our operations take into account that inherited risk that a vacant building does have with it. So in this situation, neither of the addresses behind us were considered blighted buildings, so that did not rise to that occasion for us. And we have since placarded these buildings, so our personnel do know if they respond out here in the future that they will be indicated to assess the structural stability before they commit to the building.
So these placards are put on today. Is that?
Yes, the placards that you see behind me, the red fire department ones, were put on today by fire department personnel. The DCR, the Department of Building placards, I believe they were put on today, but I can't speak to if they were here before that.
Yes, the green one is the notice that is given to the property owner. So that indicates that that property is going through the process for official classification. Property owners have due process rights. So if we do an inspection today, as an example, and we feel that the property is vacant, we send a notice to the property owner who has 30 days before the official classification takes effect. So whenever you see a green sticker, that is an indication that the Department of Buildings had inspected the place.
What about the orange ones?
The orange ones are a clear sign that there's some dangerous condition or there's an issue that you have to take extreme caution when you're entering the building.
So if you have people in the neighborhood calling saying, hey, there's someone in these buildings, I'm concerned, does someone go in to remove them? Or because if it's a concern that people are staying in these buildings or keeping warm because it's cold, how do you ensure that this doesn't happen to that house next door?
We don't know if the concern was that somebody was actually living there and keeping themselves warm. So that premise is something that we have to look into. I'm not sure that was the incident that led to our inspection response. But when it comes to removal of people from buildings, that is something that will have to involve other public safety agencies. The Department of Buildings doesn't have that authority to go and remove people from buildings.
So basically, if you see a situation as Indira was describing, who should you call? The police? Is that, fire marshal? Who do you call? I guess that's it.
For citizens, 311 is the step one for any response from city agencies. It is a process that we have in place so that people get appropriate notifications about the incident, their response, and they can track it from intake through completion.